Hey guys, it's Abby, and today we are going to be talking resin basics, or getting started with resin. Now, I am not a scientist, or, I don't understand how resin works. I just use it to make cute things. So today I'm going to be talking about UV resin, and it is a polymer. That's the best I can give you. That cures or hardens when put under a UV, ultraviolet light, which in my case is usually a lamp, or you can use the sun. But anyway, these are my two favorite brands. I like the Puttico brand and I use the Miniature Sweet brand. They both work well for me. They're both hard type resins. They also have soft resins and gummy resins and lots of different types, but we'll be getting into that in another video. But for now, just the basics. Now, I've been doing resin for quite a few years now, and I finally settled on these tools, and I actually get a lot of questions about these. So these are from Puttico. Can you tell I really like Puttico? And they're just these simple tools, like a needle tool, a little chisel tool, angled tool, flat tool, and a little scoopy spoon thingy. And I love these, but there is one problem. The plastic is very soft, and I have bent, well, this one's bent, many of these, and they're not too expensive. I think they're like $2 or $3 for the pair, so I've repurchased these multiple times. But if you come across tools maybe that are metal, those would work as well, except you don't want to scratch silicone molds, so it's kind of up to you. But also toothpicks work just as well for when you're getting started and don't want to invest or have to buy everything at once. And then, of course, you're going to want a pincette or tweezers, and these are from Tamiya. These are just like for miniatures, and this is like a fine tip tweezer, and I'm sure you can find these anywhere, hobby stores, craft stores. And actually, if we're going way back to the beginning, I should probably talk about what you can make with resin, or what I make with resin in this case. And so for me, there are 3 ways I use resin. I would say maybe more, but 3 that I can think of right now. I make resin pieces with just resin, and I color the resin. Sometimes I put stuff in the resin. In this case, it's glitter. And then the second way is to fill bezels with resin, and I probably do this the most. This is like my favorite. And you can, of course, color the resin, decorate the resin, put stickers in them, put decals in them. So many different things you can do. And then finally, I dome with resin. So this piece is actually shrink plastic, and it's just a coat of resin on the top to make it shiny and sleek. So it kind of acts as a gloss or glaze. So yeah, that's how I like to use resin. Kind of going back to the tools category, we're all over the place here, but I like to use clear packaging tape, and that is for when I have open bezels, the ones that don't have like a metal backing. Because of course, if you don't put the bezel on something, the resin is going to leak out. And I have seen crafters using silicone mats. I've never tried that. I suppose it works if they're doing it, and it's probably a little better because it's reusable, but I'm just afraid of the bezel slipping on the silicone mat and everything leaking. So that's kind of up to you. One more item that you're going to need is a lighter or a straw, though I'm not the hugest fan of the straw method. I like to use the lighter to pop any bubbles on the surface of the resin. And like I said, you can use a straw. I've seen people using like embossing heat guns, but personally, the lighter works best for me. Next, let's talk about ways to color resin. So I have powdered pigments. This is Pearl X. Glitters. These are chunky glitters, but you can really use any type of glitter. And probably my favorite, liquid pigments. Now this is the Puttico brand, and this was the one that I got first. And honestly, these last forever, so I haven't had to replace any of them yet. And these are the clear pigments. For the opaque pigments, I like to use the Miniature Sweet ones, because they have really nice pastel colors. Anyway, those are the main items that I use to color my resin. Earlier we were talking about how I like to use my resin, or what I use my resin for, and I mentioned bezels. This is what they look like without resin in them. And then of course, silicone molds. There are so many of these. There are small ones, big ones, any kind of shape you can imagine really. And for the most part, I like making probably jewelry with my resin, but if you take a look on YouTube, there are people like making furniture out of resin. Usually not UV resin, but 2-part resin. But yeah, UV resin I would say is usually used for making smaller projects. Finally, the important topic, how to cure your resin. And of course, this is the most important step because you can't have a sticky, gooey resin piece and be able to wear it or put it on your bag or anything. So this is the UV lamp I use in my videos. It is a 9-watt lamp Apparently it is 6 watt if you use it with the USB. If you plug it in with like an AC adapter, it is actually 9 watts. I use it in my video to show that I am curing the piece, and I do actually use it for like when I'm creating layers and stuff that doesn't need to be fully cured, like when I'm attaching a piece and stuff like that. So it is very useful, but it is not going to give you a solid cure, I have found. So this is what I used for my final cure. I don't show it in my videos much just because it's kind of big and bulky and it's up on a shelf, and that's why. But this is a 36 watt lamp. I looked on Amazon. Looks like you can buy them for about $15. I think I bought this for about $30, but it was many, many years ago, so I'm sure they've gotten cheaper. And a lot of people ask me, can I use a nail lamp? I believe if it's a UV lamp, you can use it. Now there are LED lamps and there's LED resin, and honestly I'm not 100% sure what the difference is, so that's something for a future video maybe. But yes, if you are having problems with tacky resin and not getting a solid cure, it's probably because your UV lamp is too weak. Now you can either buy a more powerful UV lamp or stick it out in the sun. Usually the UV resin labels say for about 30 minutes. I personally have not used that method, so I don't know, but I would assume it would take about that long. And the UV lamp, it usually takes about 3 to 5 minutes. So yeah, I hope that answered some of your questions, and if you haven't started using UV resin already, that maybe you will. And if you make anything, make sure to show it to me. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Lorian's Craftbox. If you have any requests for future videos, let me know in the comments down below. If you're not subscribed already, please do, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Make sure you check out Polymomo T or Alex's video to see what resin you should be using, especially if you are in the United States. He ordered every UV resin on Amazon.com and is reviewing it, so go check it out.